how would a wealthy person live? And when he created his wealth, what do you think the first thing he did?
Started giving?
Giving it away. Why? Because an abundant person doesn't have any lack.
Hello and welcome to the Pacific Channel, where you learn how to be, do, and have whatever you want through the power of the law of attraction, meditation, and more. I'm your host, Steve Doherty. In this audio clip, Lewis Howe asked Dr. Joe Dispenza a question about abundance. He was a bit confused. He asked, so, when someone's looking for abundance, it's never about the abundance? It's about the change they need to make for healing? Dr. Joe then explains what he meant. He explains how meditation means to become familiar with, which means to get familiar with your normal thoughts and feelings. Well, if you don't have abundance in your life right now, or if you have a physical issue that hasn't healed itself yet, then the point is that you simply need to get familiar with your normal thoughts and feelings, which are keeping you from your abundant health or abundance in material things. Dr. Joe explains more about what you can do, which is to lower the volume on your emotions every time that the feeling of lack comes up. Pay attention to the thoughts you have and then purposely think better feeling thoughts. But your body, which has been conditioned to be the mind and do all the thinking for you through the process of creating your normal feelings, will not want to let go of the old emotions, even if they are contrary to your desires, wants, and needs. Dr. Joe says that the hardest part of all of this is to make a different choice. But that's the only way to change. You have to make different choices. Choices that align with your goals and dreams. Dr. Joe also mentions that there was one guy who came to his event who didn't have $2 to rub together, and that after he did the work, he is now worth hundreds of millions of dollars. His lesson was that the joy in all of his experience wasn't his wealth or gaining material things. It was who he became along the way. It's about overcoming your old self and becoming your new self. It's about the process, not just the final destination. So, according to Dr. Joe, to become abundant, you must feel as if it is true already in every sense of the word. You must walk like an abundant person. You must talk like an abundant person. You must think like an abundant person. You must act like an abundant person in every way. And that is why a lot of people who figure this out end up giving away a lot of their abundance, because they know that that's who they have become and that there's plenty more coming. That's why Dr. Joe and others say that it's not about just gaining wealth, it's about who you become along the way of the journey of creating your abundance. Let's listen to Dr. Joe explain it now.
Let me hear you say that again. When someone's looking for abundance, it's never about the abundance, it's about the change they need to make for healing?
No, I'm using healing as an example,
yes.
But let's use abundance as an example. When you understand that you cannot get abundant, when it's no longer about the game called abundance, it's about the game called change. Mm-hmm. What do I need to change? The more I change, the more I'll be abundant.
Yes.
So then it's no longer how come it hasn't happened? That's the old personality, separate from the experience, still in lack, asking that question.
Which is creating your current reality.
Which is reaffirming it, because that's the lens you're perceiving it through. Okay, So
we should be focusing more on what we need to change every moment as opposed to the abundance or the healing.
Well, the word meditation means to become familiar with. Sit with yourself long enough and not turn on your cell phone, not scroll through your social media, do no TikTok, no emails, none of that stuff. Don't just sit and close your eyes and watch the thoughts that come up. That's the exact reason why you're not abundant. Watch what you want to do when you're feeling lack, to take away the lack, and there's always something you would do to take it away. But sit with the lack and be curious on what's on the other side of it, right? Because the body's programmed into lack now subconsciously, right? So the emotion of lack drives our thoughts and drives our behaviors. So it makes sense then that if an emotion is a record of the past, then we're doing things habitually from the past. We're thinking in the past, right? So lower the volume to the emotion every time you notice lack comes up. And just like breaking any addiction, there's going to be cravings, right? So the body's going, hey, Lewis, it's been about 2 hours since
You're so used to doing this
Yeah,
thing.
you've been thinking lacking thoughts about 150,000 times a day, and you're just going to stop now. The body's going to start influencing the mind and saying, it's not going to work, you're a loser, it didn't work before, it's too hard, everybody else.
That's why it's so hard for people to like lose weight or get in shape, because you might try it for a few days and then the cravings, or I'm tired and I want to go default back into the old personality.
Right, because why? Because the body, which has been conditioned, the body is the unconscious mind. So the body's got used to the familiar feeling, even they don't even know it's lack. It's just how they feel. It's not guilt. So okay, so let me finish. So the hardest part about all of this is making a different choice. And the moment you decide to make a different choice, get ready, it's going to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
It's going to feel unfamiliar. Your body's all of a sudden saying, hey, Lewis, why don't you start thinking those same exact thoughts, do the same things, make the same choices, demonstrate the same behaviors, have the same experiences, so you could feel that feeling of lack. Complain again to somebody, call somebody up and say how miserable your life is, right? And that's the known, right? So the body's always influencing the mind to return back to the familiar territory.
The default.
The default, okay. All right, so now the person says, okay, what thoughts do I not want? What would an abundant person think this way? The people in our work that have created, I had a guy come to our event. I love this guy. He healed himself. He tried to take his life 3 times. When he told me that when he came to our work, he didn't have $2 to rub together. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars now. And just keeps giving it away.
Wow.
His lesson wasn't the wealth, it was who he became. So it's the overcoming process that is the becoming process. Right?
Who did he become in that journey?
Exactly. He had to get beyond all of those thoughts of his past, all the mistakes he made, all the things he did wrong, all the money he owed there, all of that. That was like, he just had to no longer be that person any longer. But he did say, how would a wealthy person live? And when he created his wealth, what do you think the first thing he did?
Started giving?
Giving it away. Why? Because an abundant person doesn't have any lack. And he knows how to create more of it. And he's in the experiment. Well, what would happen if I keep giving it away? He keeps getting more. That's a good experiment to have, because he is actually living in that abundant state. He also had tremendous healings taking place, because when you heal your heart, you heal your mind. I mean, it's just the way it is. We saw it so many times, right? So he healed his heart. He got an upgrade. He got an upgrade, right? Yeah. So then the next fundamental question is, how would an abundant person think? Write it down, dude, and fire and wire those thoughts in your brain and install the hardware. Keep doing it with attention and intention. It becomes the new voice in your head. It becomes a software program. Then say, okay, how am I going to be in my life today? What would an abundant person, how would they behave? And before you reach for your cell phone and start scrolling through your social media, close your eyes and rehearse in your mind how that person would walk, how they would breathe, how they would smile, how they would greet people, how they would be on Zoom calls, how would they be in traffic, how would they be at dinner. And the act of closing your eyes and mentally rehearsing the act, if you're truly present, the brain does not know the difference between the real life experience and what you're imagining. In fact, just a little bit of time, you start to install the neurological hardware to look like you already did it. Now the brain is no longer a record of the past, it's primed for the future. Keep doing it, keep rehearsing. No different than playing an instrument, no different than learning how to dance, no different than learning how to act or play a sport. Everybody's always rehearsing, right? The rehearsal process changes the brain to look like you've already done it, you've already experienced it. Now what's the essential part of that? The hardware is in place. Now all you gotta do is step into the footprint. Keep doing it, it becomes a software program. You start acting like an abundant person. Everything changes. Your energy changes, your mood changes, the way you walk, the way you breathe, your posture changes. You're out of the known, right?
Yes.
You gotta condition the body now emotionally into the future. Can't open your eyes in the morning until you are feeling worthy to receive. And if you can't feel worthy to receive, then if not now, when? If it takes you 2 hours to get there, ask me if it's worth 30 years of running, trying to get what you need matter to matter. Okay, so then the person who wrestles with their lack, they're out of the bleachers and they're on the playing field. Now, here's what we learned. Let's go back to beliefs now. So remember, belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again. A belief is something that you keep thinking enough times that you hardwired in your brain and it becomes an automatic program. And we have beliefs about all kinds of things, money, relationships, God, whatever it is. It's all based on what we've been told or our past experiences, right? The boundaries of those beliefs are our emotions, right? So let's just say you got betrayed or somebody abused you or your father told you that money was bad and there's never enough of it or whatever. That's a story, okay? But somehow it left an impression on you. Remember that event very clearly, and that's kind of rooted in who you are, right? Okay, so that emotion then is the boundary of our belief, okay? So how you think and how you feel creates your state of being. If you take a thought and a feeling, 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 that's called an attitude. A series of good thoughts with a series of good feelings, you say, I have a good attitude today. You have a series of negative thoughts that are connected to a series of negative feelings, you say, I have a bad attitude today. So attitudes are just shortened states of being. Good attitude in the morning, bad attitude in the afternoon. If you take an attitude and attitude and attitude and you keep those up, and you string attitudes together, you create what's called a belief. And a belief is just an extended state of being. So if you keep thinking the same thought, you keep hardwiring it in the brain, you keep feeling the same feeling, you keep conditioning in your body, the redundancy of that cycle over and over again conditions the body to subconsciously become the mind of that belief. And all beliefs are subconscious states of being. Okay. Take a belief, and you string them together, you form what's called a perception. And perceptions are just such extended states of being that we're unconscious. And so then we edit out reality. In fact, most people don't see things the way they are. They see things the way they are, right? And people are always filling in reality unconsciously based on their memory. They could be married to a person for 40 years and they don't see the person, they see the memory of the person, right? And there's research to prove this, okay? So how do we change a belief or perception about ourselves or our lives, okay? We've studied this. Okay, let's just say that lack is ingrained in there. You got the story, you lived on the streets, you lost everything, you got betrayed, your business partner took everything, took your wife, you got the story in the half, okay? Okay, you gotta start telling a new story of the future, right? You gotta believe in that future more than you have to believe in the past. So how do you do that? You only believe in the past when you feel the emotions of the past. The only time you're gonna believe in the future is when you feel the emotions of the future, right? Okay, so in order for us to change a belief or perception about ourselves and our lives, we have to make a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carries a level of energy that's greater than the hardwired programs in your brain and the emotional conditioning in your body. And your body literally has to respond to your mind. That the choice that you're making to change in that moment becomes a moment in time that you never forget. And here's the key.
Physically,
the stronger the emotion you feel when you make that choice, the more you'll remember the decision. Okay, so then how do we down-regulate that old belief? If the trauma created an emotional quotient of 6 or 7, then your decision to change your beliefs got to be a 9.
Right.
And you got to come out of your resting state, and that moment has to define you. You could say, I know exactly where I was, the time of day it was, who I was with, when I made my mind up to change, right? Because you created a long-term memory. Long-term memories are created from strong emotion, right? But if the amplitude of that emotion is greater than the betrayal, boom, the body starts responding to the mind, and you're actually giving your body a taste of the future emotionally. So you brand your...
What's possible.
No, your body's actually getting the taste of that future event.
It's experiencing the future now.
Exactly. Big explosion in the quantum field. Big explosion. So the side effect of that is if you combine that clear intention with that elevated emotion, you're basically remembering your future, and it looks no different than remembering your past. Think neurologically within the circuits of that memory and feel within the emotions of that new belief, and watch your life begin to change, because nothing changes in our life that we change. And when we change our energy, we change our life. So now the experiment all of a sudden is no longer based on it being hard or trying or wishing or wanting or hoping. That's what we do when we're in lack or separation. It's about change. So then when we finally realize, in order for us to become abundant, we have to overcome the old personality. And that's 95% of who we are, right?
Yes.
So then the side effect of the beginning of this process is a lot of discomfort. It is a lot of discomfort because you're stepping outside the known into the unknown, and now you can't predict.
It's scary.
No,
It's
you'd
fearful.
rather hold on to your lack,
The pain, the suffering.
rather tell the story of that. At least it makes you feel something that's familiar. When you step outside and you're saying, I'm not going to complain about money any longer, I'm not going to complain about I don't have any, I'm not going to judge other people who do, I'm not going to say I can't, I'm not worthy, it's never going to work. All those things got to go. I'm not going to feel lack, I'm not going to feel unworthy, I'm not going to feel separation, I'm not going to feel resentment. These are the things that are keeping my reality the same. Now it's no longer about abundance, about who you become. So the overcoming process becomes the becoming process. And so many people come to this work, they want abundance, they want healing, they want a new relationship, they want a new career, they want the mystical, but really they want wholeness. And
They want healing, they want peace.
they want wholeness.
Because they feel unwhole.
Well, when you're in lack or you're in separation, you're not whole. Imagine feeling so much wholeness that's impossible to want. That's what we're working on with people. Then you can really enjoy a sunset. Then you can really enjoy a meal. Then you can really enjoy your friends. Then you can. I talk to people that are very abundant. I mean, in the billions abundant, and so many of them say we are in misery.
They're not whole.
We're in agony because they can't enjoy life anymore. That's what they want. I mean, people want abundance to be able to enjoy life. They want to be able to do whatever they want with whoever they want as many times as they want, wherever they want. That's freedom, right? Or people want abundance. The sponsoring thought is really they want freedom, right? Or whatever their sponsoring thought would be, right? So then creating from the field instead of from matter, to shorten the distance between cause and effect, requires that clear intention with that elevated emotion, coherent brain and coherent heart. Tune into that energy and feel it with your brain and your heart. I mean, we have plenty of ways to do that. Examine your personality and examine your personal reality. Change your personality, change your personal reality. Don't make it be about abundance, make it about becoming abundant by overcoming the person who's not abundant. The person who heals themselves from a health condition, who's no longer thinking the same way, no longer acting the same way, no longer feeling the same way. You ask them where that disease is when they stand on the stage in front of 1,500 people or 3,000 people, and that's a 4-minute mile. Everybody's leaning in. That's truth right on the stage. They say, where is that? Where is the disease? Oh, it lives in the old person.
Wow.
I'm somebody else. That's not even a story. That's not even who I am any longer. So, lo and behold, when we do our research, and people do this, in 7 days of going all in, at the end of 7 days, their body looks like, genetically, with all the metabolites, that they're literally in a different environment. Here's the weird part. They're in a ballroom.
Right.
There's not a lot happening in a ballroom.
Right.
What's happening in a ballroom? I've been to thousands of ballrooms. But the environment somehow looks like they're living in a very prosperous, very healthy, very loving, nurturing, very whole environment. Why? Because they were signaling genes ahead of the environment. And if the environment signals the gene, okay, that's epigenetics. The end product of the experience in the environment is an emotion. If you feel the emotion before the experience, you're signaling the gene ahead of the environment. And genes make proteins. And proteins are responsible for the structure and the function of your body.
Look at Jack, by the way. I like that. Look at the muscle over here.
The expression of proteins is the expression of life. So you actually become abundant. You actually become that person. And people who are truly abundant have no problem with losing things.
One of the interesting things that Dr. Joe said here was that a belief is just a thought that you keep on thinking. A belief is just an extended state of being, and all beliefs are subconscious states of being. So the question then becomes, how can we change a belief? How can we change a negative belief? How can we go from a belief in scarcity to a belief in abundance? you've got to start telling the story of your future. It doesn't mean that you tell others about your new future. It's actually better to keep it to yourself. But this is why scripting works. Scripting is where you write your future the way that you want it to be, and you do that every day. The other thing that Dr. Joe said is that if the trauma that created your old scarcity mindset belief is a 6 out of 10, then your new intention for an abundant life and the corresponding elevated emotion to overcome the old belief must be a 9 out of 10, for example. This is why his week-long workshops work so well. I'm sure he has people set intentions the very first day, and it's a day that they never forget. They'll be able to tell you years later, the exact day, who they are with, what happened, and how they powerfully decided to finally change. But you don't have to go to one of the workshops to do this. It's just that you would have to find a way to make the time that you finally decide to change very special somehow. Maybe you hike to a mountaintop with a friend and you both do it together. Or maybe you go somewhere else that is a very special place for you and you create some sort of a ceremony of letting go of your past and your old personality to decide to be the new you. Whatever you do, you've got to make it a powerful decision that you never forget. According to Dr. Joe, that is when there will be a big explosion of energy for you in the quantum field. At this ceremony for yourself, you're going to be saying things that Dr. Joe suggests. What he said bears repeating when you finally make up your mind to change. You're going to have to tell yourself something like, I'm not going to complain about money any longer. I'm not going to judge other people anymore. I'm not going to say that I'm not worthy. All these things gotta go. I'm not going to feel lack. I'm not going to feel unworthy. I'm not going to feel separation. I'm not going to feel resentment. These are the things that are keeping my reality the same. Now it's no longer about abundance. It's about who you become along the way. You have to overcome your old self. The overcoming process becomes the becoming process. When you successfully do this, you will feel so whole that you no longer even want anything, according to Dr. Joe. And ironically enough, that's when everything you want to manifest will quickly come to you. If you like this video, please like, comment, and share it with others. Think about those who you know who might be ready for this information and share it with them. Thanks for watching, and now make that powerful decision for yourself to change. Make it a very special event that you will never forget, or attend one of Dr. Joe's week-long workshops if you can. It could be the best investment you ever made in your life. Until the next video, have a great day or night.
Christmas is coming, and we would love to give back to our Pacific family. We are offering 2 lucky winners a ticket to Dr. Joe Dispenza's week-long retreat in Cartagena, Colombia, worth $2,300 each. To enter the giveaway, you must be a subscriber to our channel Pacific. Like this video, comment your manifestation goals for the year 2023, share this video with any 5 people, and stay tuned on our channel as we will declare the winner soon. Please refer to the description below for more info. Good luck!